He was one of America's most beloved religious figures.
I know people who, when they were in his presence, felt like they were talking to God.
Cardinal Ted McCarrick's influence stretched all the way from New Jersey to the Vatican.
He would bring bags of money, literally, bags of money to the Pope.
But was he a kindly man of faith?
There's no place in the priesthood or religious life for those who would harm the young.
Or a cold-hearted predator committing ungodly acts?
He's exposing himself to me. He's making me say the confession, and I'm going to confession, and he's abusing me there.
The last and only thing I can remember is abject horror.
The Vatican was warned.
And they were aware of it for years.
So why was nothing done?
This is intentional, institutionalized criminal activity.
And will the survivors ever find justice?
Today, justice lost, and McCarrick won. And how sad is that?
Crime Files starts now.
It's been with me every day since then, and it always will be.
John Bellocchio still struggles with the abuse he suffered as a teenager. He relies on an emotional support dog to get him through the day.
PTSD, anxiety, depression, all of those things. It's almost like his legacy to me.
It's 1996, and John is a 14-year-old altar boy in Hackensack, New Jersey, honored to have been chosen to serve Mass with one of the most prominent figures in the Catholic Church, Archbishop Ted McCarrick. But the day John is looking forward to will wind up becoming the worst day of his life.
I was assaulted inside a confessional box. There are certain sights, sounds, and just different things that happen that can serve as a trigger. I go right back to that confessional box.
Did you tell anyone after it happened?
No. No.
Why not?
How do you say that? I'm not sure, but my mind even went there until much later.
John doesn't know this at the time, but he is not the first victim.
My dad was a very holy man. He went to church every single day.
It's the 1960s, and James Grine is growing up in Tenafly, New Jersey.
We all went through Catholic schools all the way through high school. It's very, very important. My father instilled upon us that without God, you didn't really have much of a life.
When James is just a few days old, he's baptized by a family friend, a young priest named Ted McCarrick.
He's my uncle. My entire family called him an uncle, even though he's not. If I had a situation that was going on in my life, I called him. I didn't call my mother and father. I called him.
For as long as James can remember, his parents have impressed upon him that Ted McCarrick is a man of God, a man he must always respect and obey.
He's loved by my father. He's loved by my mother. And I have to behave, because if I don't, then the wrath of all of that is coming right at me.
But when James turns 10 years old, his relationship with Uncle Ted takes a dark turn. He says McCarrick begins to abuse him.
How could a man who has a white collar around his neck, how the heck can he be doing this to me? I think that it's wrong, but I don't know what to do because my father says, you have to do everything he says.
One day after a trip to the beach, James decides to tell his father that McCarrick has been abusing him. His father does not believe him.
And I try to tell my father sends me to my room. I tried, and that was the day, the sad day for me, that McCarrick drove a stake between my father and I never trusted my father again.
James says as he gets older, McCarrick uses alcohol to control him.
When I was with him, I felt that I was supposed to drink. I was supposed to be a lot more pliable for him. I think I became a complete, full-blown alcoholic, drinking every single day by the time I was 17 years old.
While James is suffering, Ted McCarrick is enjoying a meteoric rise up the ranks of the Catholic Church.
He came out as very empathetic, pious, just had this aura about him.
He was definitely a mover and a shaker within the church.
In 1981, McCarrick rises to the level of bishop in Metuchen, New Jersey. Just 5 years later, he's appointed Archbishop of Newark, and that's where he hosts a visit from Pope John Paul II.
I believe the Holy Father will probably be here in a half hour or so.
And in 2000, McCarrick reaches the highest level of the Catholic Church in the United States, Cardinal of Washington, D.C.
Anyone who wanted the Catholic vote, any politician who wanted the Catholic vote, went to McCarrick.
He was a rainmaker, without a doubt. He brought in millions of dollars.
Insiders say one of the reasons McCarrick climbs the ranks so quickly is his ability to raise money.
It's rumored that he gave the Pope a check for at least $1 million when he came to Newark.
McCarrick is also heavily involved in recruiting young priests to the church. And as he did with James Grine, he insists on seminarians calling him Uncle Ted.
You went a long way if you were one of Uncle Ted's boys.
More than any other member of the clergy that I can remember, Ted McCarrick has a high public profile.
He was very outspoken, engaged the media. He had the ability to talk on topics that were current, even the clergy abuse crisis.
People need to know there's no place in the priesthood or religious life for those who would harm the young.
It seems like there is no limit to just how high McCarrick might rise in the Catholic Church.
I'm sure there were individuals who thought that McCarrick was going to become a pope.
But there are also whispers that perhaps McCarrick isn't quite as saintly as he seems.
This person who was so close to God and so idolized had this horrendously dark side.
While in New Jersey, McCarrick often spends weekends at a beach house on the Jersey Shore, and he asks the church to send seminarians to spend the weekends with him. Church insiders soon start hearing disturbing reports.
He would invite one more seminarian than there were beds. Everybody knew this. Everybody knew this.
There would be 10 seminarians, and there would be 9 beds. So one of them had to sleep with McCarrick. Just a sick manipulation.
McCarrick insists his behavior is totally innocent. And let's face it, the seminarians are in no position to contradict him.
And it's like, wait a minute, if I don't adhere to what this man wants, then I could kiss my career goodbye. I'm out. Everything that I've put my life toward, everything where I am, is gone tomorrow if I don't get into bed with this man.
McCarrick eventually attracts the attention of Phil Lawler. Lawler is a journalist who's written extensively about the Catholic Church, and he has a hard time understanding how McCarrick is getting away with his behavior.
Were there people who were protecting him? Because there are an awful lot of people who are aware of his activities with seminarians, and they were aware of it for years before it became a public matter. So why were they silent?
Who would you tell? Who would believe you?
He had very, very powerful friends. So there was that concern of those who knew, well, what's going to happen to me if I do the right thing?
Eventually, one man does try to do the right thing. His name is Father Boniface Ramsey.
When he was named Archbishop of Washington, I thought this would be an embarrassment to the church.
Father Boniface writes a letter to the papal nuncio, basically the Vatican's ambassador in Washington, D.C. And he says seminarians have confided in him that they've been forced to sleep with Ted McCarrick.
I wanted to make them aware in case they weren't aware, and they should handle it appropriately.
Father Boniface is taking a huge risk by doing this. In fact, one of Boniface's friends tells him, don't do this.
He said, don't send the letter. Don't send the letter. McCarrick will destroy you.
Father Boniface sends the letter anyway.
That's the point at which it should have triggered real action.
And then for 6 years, nothing happens. Until he gets a letter out of the blue from the Vatican's Secretary of State.
He wrote to me about promoting somebody from the Archdiocese of Newark political position in the Vatican. The letter wanted to know whether this person had anything to do with what I had mentioned in my letter in the year 2000.
So they obviously had gotten your letter and read it.
Oh yes, yes, exactly. They were aware of it all that time.
So in the early 2000s, Ted McCarrick seems to be on top of the world, untouchable. But he's about to find out how quickly things can change.
Crime Files continues with Ungodly Acts.
It's 2001, and Ted McCarrick has risen to the highest level of the Catholic Church in the United States, Cardinal of Washington, D.C.
He was the most powerful cleric in the United States.
But for more than 25 years, McCarrick has been harboring a secret. He's been repeatedly accused of sexually abusing young men and boys.
He's making me say the confession, and I'm going to confession, and he's abusing me there.
The last and only thing I can remember is abject horror.
The Vatican has been made aware of McCarrick's behavior, but has taken no action.
He was still rising to the top, and nobody was doing anything about it.
In 2002, the issue of clergy abuse makes headlines. The Vatican holds a summit meeting to discuss the issue. And incredibly, Ted McCarrick winds up as the Vatican spokesperson.
I can't see how anyone in the United States today would cover up something like that.
And he's there, you know, waxing eloquently about it. Our love for children, and we must protect children, and I'm sitting there saying, my God, how did they let him loose?
Once again, he seems untouchable. But all that is about to change.
I got down on my knees, and I said, I got to go tell somebody.
James Grine was McCarrick's first alleged victim. For years, he's been coping with the trauma by abusing alcohol. But now, as an adult, he's gotten sober, and he is ready to speak out.
And I decided that it was time. It was time for me to tell the world who this guy is, who the monster really is.
At his mother's funeral, James confronts Ted McCarrick for the first time.
I said, now Ted, now that Mom's gone, I'm going to out you. He goes, go ahead and try. You're nothing but a drunk and a liar. Nobody will ever believe you. Don't you know who I am?
In 2018, James Grine accepts Ted McCarrick's challenge.
The man who was once the most powerful Catholic leader in New Jersey is under the cloud of a sex abuse allegation tonight.
The Vatican quickly removes McCarrick from the ministry, and McCarrick issues a statement that is strange, to say the least. He never says he's innocent. He just says he has no recollection of committing sexual abuse.
It's a somber moment for all of us here in the Archdiocese. I believe that ultimately people will understand that, in fact, the Church made the right moves at the time.
But the McCarrick story is about to get a lot bigger. For years, survivors of childhood sexual abuse have struggled to find justice. It might take them years or decades to come to grips with their abuse. And by that time, the statute of limitations would have expired.
The judicial system says, look, we believe everything that you're saying, but you took too long to come out, and we're going to dismiss your case.
But all that may be about to change, in part because of the efforts of one man who says the Church tried to keep him silent.
He actually crawled into my bed on an overnight train ride.
As a child, Mark Crawford says he was abused by his local priest. He says he reported the abuse to the Church, but the Church did nothing.
The only response I got was, listen, you can't do anything. You cannot win. We are legally protected. Charitable immunity and the statute of limitations protects us. That infuriated me so much. I said, I will never be silent. I will never go away. And I will now make it my life's mission to change those two laws, because no institution should be above the law.
Mark goes on to become an advocate for childhood sex abuse survivors, and he starts lobbying lawmakers to expand the statute of limitations.
And it took almost 20 years. But absolutely, my bill did become law.
The legislation results in 800 lawsuits against the Catholic Church, including 25 from people who say they were abused by Ted McCarrick. The first lawsuit, is filed by John Bellocchio. What did you hope your lawsuit would accomplish?
I would hope that it would accomplish change.
He disgraces Jesus Christ. This is why Theodore McCarrick is a fraud.
James Grine soon follows with a lawsuit of his own.
Why, Uncle Teddy, did you abuse me and misuse my trust?
Prosecutors in several states also begin criminal investigations into McCarrick's behavior. When the lawsuits finally started to come out, did you think maybe now McCarrick will be held to account?
Many times I thought, maybe now, maybe now, maybe now. And time again, it did not happen, it did not happen, it did not happen.
While prosecutors are trying to build a criminal case, the Vatican conducts an investigation of its own. It releases a 449-page report filled with shocking revelations. One of the biggest revelations, the Church admits it has quietly, for years, been settling lawsuits filed by people who say McCarrick abused them.
It was settlement after settlement after settlement after settlement, many with non-disclosure agreements.
How much damage do those non-disclosure agreements do?
Horrific, because they allow the system to continue. They allow the abuse to continue.
The report also says Pope John Paul II personally made the decision to appoint McCarrick Cardinal of Washington, D.C., and he did it even after he had been informed of McCarrick's behavior. The Newark Archdiocese now says all dioceses are required to report every allegation of abuse to law enforcement, ensuring that the cases are handled with transparency and accountability. For James Grine, it's a change that comes much too late.
They didn't treat him like a criminal. They treated him like he was a king, and that disgusts me.
Crime Files continues with Ungodly Acts.
Cardinal Ted McCarrick has reached the top of the Catholic Church in the United States. But by the spring of 2021, he's been defrocked, accused of sexually abusing young men and boys for 25 years.
Every time I saw him, he abused me. Every time. Some of those were really, really horrendous.
But you have to believe that there are hundreds of men out there who were either abused as children or as young seminarians.
In the summer of 2021, McCarrick is finally taken to court. Prosecutors in Massachusetts accuse him of the sexual abuse of James Grine 47 years earlier. Should he be in prison?
Yes, he should be in prison.
The case never even makes it to trial.
The former Archbishop of Newark was found not competent to stand trial in Massachusetts.
By the time he's finally brought to court, Ted McCarrick is over 90 years old. The judge rules he's suffering from dementia, cannot stand trial, and he dismisses all charges.
It's a ploy to escape justice. He had to say that he was incompetent because that's the only way he could get out. Justice lost. And McCarrick won. And how sad is that?
In this world, he ran out the clock.
He escaped secular justice, but he will never escape moral and ethical justice. And that's where he's being held accountable.
To this day, there are many unanswered questions about the McCarrick case, questions that may never be answered, including the biggest questions of all. How many people were aware of the abuse, and why did so few of them say anything?
I was never very confident that we'd get to the bottom of it. And I'm even less confident now because we've had plenty of time and it didn't happen.